You're listening to the Easy Feed Podcast, episode number 26, Sweeteners in Our Children's Food. Hi there, I'm Karina Savage, and with over 20 years experience feeding children, including my own, I've learnt all the secrets that busy mums need to get their children eating better and actually enjoying healthy foods. So a huge welcome to the Easy Feed Podcast. Well, a big welcome back. It's great to have you. I hope you are all really well. Today we are talking about a topic that I just presented on Sunrise Channel 7 TV about last week. It was to do with sweeteners and how they have absolutely exploded over the last 20 years in our children's food. Well, all of our food, right? It's not just our children's food, but I want to focus on our children, but absolutely exploded in diet soft drinks, diet low sugar, no sugar products. And it's really, I think, come at a time when we've not necessarily moved away from low fat. There's still a lot of people that go for low fat options, but also very much low sugar has become a regular focus for people. So because of this, we have seen an absolute explosion of these artificial sweeteners over the past 20 years. So really since about the 2000s, but they've been around for a lot longer. And whilst they're deemed safe for human consumption, are they really? When you take a deep dive into the research, I would beg to differ. So the food authorities deem them safe. They're allowed to be put into our food, our children's food, foods that are marketed to our children on a daily basis. And I think this is even more of a concern. So are they actually safe? And that's what I'm going to dive into a lot more deeply today, because when you look at the research for artificial sweeteners and nutritive sweeteners, there's a whole lot of sweeteners out there. So we've got, the synthetic ones, we've got the sugar alcohols, and I'll talk a lot more about those in a sec. But I really would beg to differ that they're safe. And I think we really need to be mindful about how much of these foods we as adults, but also our children are consuming. So for many years now, people have been using these sweeteners. You'll remember, I think the first really common ones was your Equal and your Splenda. So people have been using them for many years now because they have been, I guess, viewed as the healthier option instead of adding sugar. But really interestingly, and this is something that I discussed on Channel 7 the other day, that WHO, so the World Health Organization, came out last year. They did a big review of all the literature around sweeteners and weight loss and health. And they found that sweeteners do not help people to lose weight or keep their weight off. So there's no recommendation for the use of sweeteners. In fact, they did have a warning in that same article around the potential health risks to people consuming significant amount of sweeteners. Because when you start digging, there's some alarming research about the health consequences of sweeteners. And I'm going to talk about those. So what are sweeteners? Well, sweeteners are generally synthetically made. And you can separate them into two camps. You've got the artificial sweeteners, and by these I mean the ones that you typically find in, your diet soft drinks and whatnot. So they're things like aspartame or asulfamine or saccharin or sucralose, which is Splenda, and saccharin, which is Equal. So you've got those artificial sweeteners, and then you've got the sugar alcohols, which are otherwise known as non-nutritive sweeteners. And they're things like erythritol, steviol, sorbitol, xylitol, mannitol. Basically anything ending in ol is a non-nutritive sweetener. And these are often sugar alcohols. So things like erythritol, steviol, sorbitol, xylitol or mannitol, so anything ending in ol really. So you've got these sort of two different categories of sweeteners, but at the end of the day, you've got sweeteners in both of those groups that tell us there's health concerns, there's health risks. So sweeteners that are artificial sweeteners, but also nutritive sweeteners that are linked to health risks. Now, sweeteners are often 1,000 times sweeter than sugar, so they're only needed in small amounts. But the thing is, we are now consuming more low sugar and diet products than ever before. And our kids are too, right? So it's no added sugar muesli bars, low sugar or no sugar tomato sauce, or no sugar Zupa Dupas and things like that. I mean, it's even in some of the energy prime drinks that, our kids were so crazy about late last year. So these no sugar foods are everywhere. And sometimes parents might think, oh, yeah, they're the healthy option because they're lower sugar, which is what we've all been taught and led to believe. But then they've got these sweeteners in them. So are we doing the right thing by our children, giving them these no added sugar or low sugar products, or should we be avoiding them? So we're told that we need to reduce our children's sugar intake. And granted, yes, I'm one of those people who also says don't add too much sugar, but I'm also all about having a little bit of sugar, not being completely no sugar, because that doesn't work either long term, especially from a psychological perspective. But with that message, though, of reducing sugar, sometimes those low sugar products sneak in because they're chosen to fit in with that low sugar lifestyle. But at the end of the day, we really need to be second guessing our purchasing behaviors around those low sugar, no sugar muesli bars. Look, my kids love them. When I got home from the segment on TV the other day, I had some of the packets because I was showing them on TV, and they loved them. They hopped into them. They really enjoy them. I think it's the no shoe ones that they really love. And, on the packer, if you flip the label around, it says 2.6 grams of sugar per bar. But then you look at the ingredients list and there is a gazillion ingredients there, many, many foreign ingredients. Erythritol is one of those. And that's one of those sweeteners that I'm talking about that is actually linked to health problems. So whilst my kids love them, and yes, I had them, so I was like, right, you can have them. Let's just get rid of them. I'm not buying them again. I'm definitely not going to be buying those or any of the other artificially sweetened products because I've been trying really hard over the past 6 to 12 months to reduce these. I've actually also recorded a podcast episode where I do talk a bit about sweeteners, but also artificial colors and flavors and the links and health risks with children and behavior and concentration. So if you scroll up to one of my earlier podcast episodes, you'll see that one on artificial sweeteners and colors, but this one's really focusing on sweeteners. So if you scroll up, you'll see my earlier podcast on artificial flavors and colors and preservatives. And I do talk a little bit about sweeteners, but this one's really focused 100% on sweeteners today. So look, I think there needs to be a lot more research. And it's that old chestnut, the more you know, the less you know. So the more I've researched this over the past few weeks, the more I realize the extent of the negative health effects these sweeteners can have. At the end of the day, one study will show one thing that they're not, harmful, and then the next study will show that there is significant health risks and danger to our health. And often it's the ones that show no harm or no danger that are funded by the industry, like the Sweetener company, which is so dodgy and so biased. We really need to take those results with a grain of salt. So look, on the whole, the evidence to me is pretty damn strong that we should be avoiding artificial sweeteners, not only those synthetic ones, the aspartame, the asulfame, the sucralose, the saccharin, but also those nutritive ones too, especially erythritol. So the artificial sweeteners, I mean in diet drinks like Diet Coke, Pepsi Max, even the prime drinks, low sugar drinks, Mr. Muscle chocolate milk the other day. I was in the supermarket trying to find products to show on TV, and I was like, wow, there's so many no sugar, low sugar products that have these sweeteners. Remedy kombucha, sorry to name and shame, but that has erythritol in it, or steviol glycoside. So often stevia and monk fruit, they put with erythritol. And erythritol is one of those sweeteners that when they put it in a test tube with your blood, your serum, it increases the clotting of the platelets, and that can increase risk of heart attack and stroke. So, yeah, I think we just need to think about our purchasing behaviors of these products with sweeteners in them a little more. And sometimes they're not written as aspartame or saccharin or sucralose, but they're written as a number. That's for the artificial sweeteners. So if you see anything with a 9.5 in front of it, like 951, 954, I would leave it on the shelf. So let me go back up and let me find the numbers for you. So aspartame's 951, saccharin's 954, sucralose is 955. So yeah, anything of which has got a 9.5 in front of it and it's a low sugar product, it's going to have that artificial sweetener in it. With the nutritive sweeteners, they're mainly sugar alcohols, again, generally synthetically made, like they're not extracted from a food, but they have to be written as the whole name, like erythritol or sorbitol or mannitol or xylitol or steviol, so the list goes on. So you'll usually see them at the end of the ingredients list because on a food label, you're going to have the ingredients listed from the largest ingredient in the product down to the smallest ingredient in the product. And so because they are so highly concentrated in their sweetness, they'll generally be like one of the last ingredients because they're just in small amounts. Because even though we're buying these sugar-free products, they're still sweet. So we're actually training our taste buds and even more concerningly, our children's taste buds to like sweet foods. And it's a real concern for our children's taste buds because we are shaping their taste preferences that they carry with them into adulthood. And if our children are enjoying these so-called sugar-free, low sugar, but very sweet products, they're training their taste buds to like sweet things, and they carry these taste preferences with them into adulthood. So that means as an adult, they're either going to be having more sugar or more of these sweeteners, which I don't think either is great for them. Look, I'm all about a little bit of sugar, real sugar, and I'll talk more about that later. But we don't want them to be having lots of sugar, and we don't want them to be having lots of artificial sweeteners either. So either way, giving our children these no sugar products as kids is not going to work in their favor from a health perspective as an adult. And this is why I'm sharing this with you guys, because I want you to be informed as parents. I want you to know how to nourish your kids. I want you to know the information from, a reputable source and not a company and no one that's got any bias. I'm here to dig through the research and find, the actual evidence and put it all together like in a summary for you, because it's really important to be informed. And I just want you to be able to nourish your kids. And look, I've got a whole membership on this. This is just one snippet of what I share in the membership. But it's making sure that as parents, we are informed and doing the best we can for our kids. And look, I'm not saying that anyone's perfect. I'm not perfect either with feeding my kids. And my kids still have days where I'm like, wow, that was not a great food day. So there's no judgment. I'm about keeping it real and just saying, look, do the best you can. And life is busy, and there is no judgment if you are still giving your kids sweeteners, because my kids love these foods too. And they do still get them sometimes, as I said. But the more I've dived into the research, the more alarmed that I have become about them. And I've really tried to oust them out of my pantry and my fridge. If they're having a little bit of them here and there, it's not going to be as risky as if they're consuming foods multiple times daily. For example, in the lunchbox, they get a low sugar or no sugar muesli bar, and then they've got no sugar tomato sauces or no sugar ice blocks, or you've got diet yogurt that's got this artificial sweetener in it, diet soft drinks, even some of those kombucha drinks. So just be really aware of what is in your fridge and pantry. Just flip that product around, look at the ingredients list, and you'll straight away be able to see if there's any of those 9.5s in there or anything ending in ol. So I'm all about having a bit of the real stuff, the actual sugar, but keeping it to, a reasonable amount or a lower amount if possible. But I'm about buying food so that when you read the ingredients list, you actually know what they are. And your grandmother would also have known, or would know if she's still alive, those ingredients too, because it's really important that we're putting real food into our body, food from Mother Nature, not food from a lab that's been chemically engineered that goodness knows what's going to do to our body. So just have the real stuff. Just give your kids the real stuff, but just give them less of it. Because at the end of the day, we still don't know the extent to how harmful these sweeteners can be long term. We know it can increase risk of blood clotting, heart attack, stroke, Saccharin's been linked to cancer. Sucralose has been linked to changing your DNA. So there's stuff out there that's pretty scary. And when you look at the American guidelines and the food authorities, their terminology is GRAS, G-R-A-S, generally regarded as safe. That gives me no comfort. That does not make me feel that secure or happy about either myself or my kids consuming these. Generally regarded as safe. I'm like, what does that mean, right? That's already telling me that they think that there could be issues. Generally regarded as safe, but yet it's still allowed into our food, and that really frustrates me. Another bad thing about sweeteners is they actually change your gut microbes. They worsen your microbiota and the balance of gut microbes, the good bugs and the bad bugs. So they will increase your risk of gut problems, and they may also increase your risk of gut bloating and symptoms of gas and wind. Because often with those sugar alcohols, the sorbitol, I mean, look, if you look at a packet of extra chewing gum, it's got, if you flip it around, it says excessive consumption may have a laxative effect. And that's because too much sorbitol can actually cause a lot of gut issues. Because these sugar alcohols, anything ending in ol, often don't get digested and absorbed well. So they end up in the large bowel where they get fermented by the gut microbes, and you can end up with a lot of gas and bloating. So if you or your child is prone to a bit of irritable bowel or gut troubles, then these sweeteners that are generally ending in ol are likely to further exacerbate any gut symptoms. And as I said, the sweeteners can actually change your gut microbes and change your immune health, because 3/4 of your immune health is in your gut, in your gastrointestinal tract. And so if those microbes are changing for the worse, then your immune health is changing for the worse, and that's not a good thing. Your gut microbes are also responsible for how we digest and metabolize food. So if we're changing our gut microbiome or the environment in our gut for the worse, then that's going to have a negative impact not only on our immune health, but our risk of diseases. It's really interesting when you look at someone that's on the larger side, possibly, overweight or obese, and someone on the healthy end of the weight to height ratio, their gut microbiome can be very different. And they have studied, and also they've studied in children too. In fact, this is another good podcast episode. They've studied children that are overweight and children that are of a healthy weight, and they have different gut microbiomes. So it's very common that gut microbiome can influence how you metabolize food and can have a direct impact on your weight. So yeah, hugely interesting area of study. And as I said, I'm very much a gut geek and gut health nerd. So I love talking about this stuff. But if these sweeteners are changing our gut microbiome, that's not a good thing, because they're only changing it for the worse. So at this point, you might be thinking, wow, Karina, this is crazy. Well, I'm thinking this is crazy. I feel very passionately about it. And the more I talk about it, the more I want to talk about it and just share the fact that we really should be avoiding these artificial sweeteners. Look, after the segment last week, I had a doctor contact me saying that it was the best segment she'd seen in a long time, commending me for giving such a clear, succinct explanation around sweeteners and the health risks, because I think it's just important to raise awareness. Because our food authorities allow them in our food. As I said, GRAS, generally regarded as safe. What is that? So we think they're safe and okay because they're allowed in our food, and we've been so conditioned by the low sugar that, actually, interestingly enough, it used to be low fat, because on the episode the other day when I was chatting, Matt Shevington said to me, well, it used to be low fat, didn't it? And now it's low sugar. And I said, yeah, like we've gone from one thing to another, but really at the end of the day, we just need to have balance of everything, keep it simple, keep it real ingredients, right? None of these synthetic rubbish ingredients that we're putting into our bodies that we really don't know what they're going to do to us long term. I don't care how many studies tell us that they're good or they're bad. If they're fake and synthetic and they don't come from food or nature, then really are we supposed to have them? That is my question. And I think no. And you might say to me, well, Karina, but stevia or monk fruit, and then I say, yeah, but they usually put it with erythritol. And that's one of the nutritive sweeteners. That's actually the one that's showing to be the worst. when you put it in the test tube, it clots your platelets. So no thank you. I don't want stevia mixed with erythritol. So you just have to be careful. So I apologize if I'm freaking you out, and I don't want you to feel guilty. I just want you to be informed. You can always make changes. And if your kids are having some of these foods right now, it's fine. My kids were having them too. Just start reducing them, right? On TV the other day, I had 2 yogurts. I had a diet yogurt and a regular yogurt. We had regular muesli bars. And I was talking about the fact that I'd rather give my child a regular muesli bar that has a little bit of sugar. And we talked about the better types of muesli bars, so the ones that are less than 5 grams of sugar per serve. I'd rather them have that that's got oats and real food in it rather than something that's full of synthetic ingredients and artificial sweeteners. Even better, going for a muesli bar like the Tasty brand. It's got 5 ingredients and it's sweetened all with dates. So sweetening with natural food is even better. So at the end of the segment, we had a section where I had honey, maple syrup, dates, dried fruit sauce. Really encouraging, especially if you're at home, using those to sweeten things, because you're not only bringing natural sweetness, but you're also bringing the other nutrition that comes with that food. So it might be fiber, it might be vitamins. So it's always better to sweeten foods, if you can, with foods that you know are natural and in smaller amounts. So I think it's always better to go with a bit of the real stuff, the real sugar, and have a little bit rather than a lot of the fake stuff. So the next time you're in the supermarket, flip that muesli bar packet around and look for 2 things. So first of all, look to the ingredients list to make sure there's no fake stuff in there. And second, look to the nutrition table and look at the sugar per serve. Muesli bars go per serve. Ideally, aim less than 5 per serve. The other thing you can do to compare like apples with muesli bars is look per 100 grams, because I'm often saying compare per 100 grams because then you can compare different things. But muesli bars are like the actual bar. But definitely with cereals, and you could also say this for muesli bars, if you look per 100 grams, try and aim for under 20% sugar, so under 20 grams sugar per 100 grams. So you could say that for kids' cereals and kids' muesli bars. And look, the lower the better. Wheat Bix, I think, is 3 per 100 grams. Oats are 0, so they're even better. But often kids' cereals are really laden with sugar, and that's a conversation for another day. But really, at the end of the day, trying to make sure there's no fake sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and trying to keep the sugar low-ish. And look, if you can bake something at home, I've got plenty of great recipes in my membership for making muffins and cookies and brownies that are delicious and kids will eat them and they're nutritious and they're low in sugar. So that's definitely a great option rather than those muesli bars. But look, sometimes you just don't have time, right? So you've just got to go for like a Carmen's muesli bar or something that's got a lower sugar content. And I do have, I think it's over 50 food reviews now on my website, nourishwithkarina.com. If you go to the Learn section, and there'll be all the food reviews there for you to have a look through. Now, just a quick comment for those who love Diet Cokes and diet soft drinks and just need the caffeine to get them through the day if they're not coffee drinkers. I'm talking to the parents here now. Well, I'm always talking to you, but this is specifically for your intake because we don't want our kids to have soft drinks. If you really love a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero or a Pepsi Max, then try to limit them as much as possible. If you only have one occasionally here and there, then I'd probably just go for a bit of the regular one rather than the diet one, as I'd rather you just have a little bit of sugar rather than the chemically sweetened ones. But if you're someone that needs one every day, or if you're having multiple per day, again, no judgment, but just try to reduce it if you can, and perhaps swap out for some sparkling water or mineral water or something else that's bubbly, but it's not artificially sweetened. So yeah, look, I think we've all got things that we rely on to get us through the day. And if you do like diet soft drinks, then just be mindful of trying to reduce them or swapping them out for soda water or mineral water or something else that is going to have less of these synthetic sweeteners in them. Well, I should say no synthetic sweeteners in them. It's just sparkling water. Okay, I'll start to wrap it up soon, but I just wanted to let you know that I do have all of this information, healthy snacks, recipes, how to feed kids 101 inside my membership. It's currently open for enrollment. So to check it out, you can head to the link in the show notes or just head to my website, nourishwithkarina.com. sweetenersspectrum.com/membership. Check it out. I would love to welcome you to the group. It is so much fun. We have such fantastic chat and support of each other in our private Facebook group, and our calls are epic. So much fun, and we cover so much ground. So yeah, check it out. I'd love you to join. And look, you can cancel at any time. So you just pop in, see if you like it. And if you like, you can stay. If not, you can exit left. Okie dokie. I will wrap it up there. I hope this has been a helpful, informative 101 on sweeteners. If you like this episode, please leave me a review. And thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful week. Bye for now.